Up next, opening her diary is SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga. She joins us from Soweto this afternoon. You know her very well, always updating you on all legal matters here on SABC News. Speaking of which then, Canny, good afternoon. Let's start with the hearings of the Judicial Conduct Tribunal into the allegations of sexual harassment against Eastern Cape Judge President Selbin Benenge. So a lot transpired last week, but tell us about the list of witnesses that have been called and those that are still to be called.
Indeed, good afternoon to you, to Lesizwe, and to the viewers at home. Well, the May leg of the Judicial Conduct Tribunal probing those very serious sexual harassment allegations against the Eastern Cape top judge, that is Judge President Selbin Benenge, kicked off last week with its May leg with the evidence leader, that is Advocate Sulume Skeepers, bringing in a list of total of 9 witnesses that she hasn't finished calling yet, but we have seen a significant number come before the tribunal in the last week. Essentially, what these witnesses came to testify on were the parts of Andiso Mengo's testimony that she has already placed on record before the Judicial Conduct Tribunal. Outside of one witness, Lesizwe, it seems that most of those witnesses, whether it be the judge's secretaries or whether it be the director of court operations, have confirmed her version of events with respect to the steps she took in order to stop the alleged advances that she was getting allegedly from the top judge. Where there was a bit of a difficulty, which has now been left for argument, is the issue regarding the filing of the initial complaint. You may remember that evidence in January revealed to us that there was an initial complaint that was filed before the JSC, and then of course because that complaint was quote-unquote misplaced, Andiso Mengo had to file a new complaint in the form of an affidavit where she cross-referenced her evidence in that particular affidavit. Now the issue with that particular narration of events is that the assistant, or rather the former JC official that assisted her with that complaint, is telling a different story to Andiso Mengo with respect to the fact whether she had a copy or not when she made the second complaint, that is the affidavit. Now, because the two stories are not the same, the tribunal is now faced with the dilemma of either accepting the version of Andiso Mengo or accepting the version of Kutlwana Moretwa. If they do not accept the version of Andiso Mengo, it is a bit of a difficulty for her, because then it means that she was dishonest in that regard. And if she was dishonest in that regard, then the tribunal would have to approach her evidence with caution. So it is a critical issue that will be left for arguments to discuss and for the parties to give their versions. Of course, the Judge President's counsel is stating that not one version can be true. And then we're having Mengo's counsel stating that they're going to argue for the evidence of Kutlwana Moretwa to not be accepted with regards to Andiso Mengo's filing of that complaint, because she vehemently has testified and is consistent in that, or maintains rather, that she did not have sight of that initial copy when she filed that affidavit after it was misplaced. Now we expect in the coming weeks for 2 more witnesses to be called. We're not sure if the last witness, the 9th witness, will be accepted or not. That is still an issue that is being debated in the tribunal. But at least Mr. Neil Naidu of the Office of the Chief Justice in Midrand is expected to come and give meaning to those screenshots of CCTV that we've seen them refer back to over the past week. It's a screenshot of a particular photograph of the CCTV where we see they are inside the Tata High Court of the Eastern Cape Division of the High Court. So we expect that when Mr. Neil Naidu appears tomorrow before the tribunal, he will then give meaning to what the CCTV is trying to tell the tribunal in their probe of this very serious landmark probe into sexual harassment allegations in the judiciary. Then, of course, when this week wraps up, we expect that the top judge, that is the Eastern Cape Judge President Selbin Benenge, will then take the stand. Remember, a large bulk of the evidence before the tribunal is this electronic communication in the form of WhatsApps. Some of it is disputed, and some of it the Judge President argues was consensual. Of course, we have Andiso Mengo's record, or rather voice on the record, regarding what she understood those messages to mean, and her arguing that these messages were unwanted. But we now need to hear from the Judge President himself what exactly he was trying to convey in those WhatsApp exchanges, or over 800 WhatsApp exchanges between the pair. Then we also expect for him to call his own witnesses witnesses, which includes an expert witness that will read or explain the particular emojis. We've already heard some kind of discussion about a technical expert coming in, or ICT expert who does coding for emojis. So that will be quite an interesting week coming up to Lasizo when they discuss that.
Sure, we're going to learn a lot then about emojis. In the past week, we were learning about what they mean in terms of the message you are trying to convey. So from what you are saying later on, we will learn the technical aspects of it. Before I let you go, Kenny, there's an aspect that you mentioned of Kutlwano Muretwa, I think is the surname, about the different versions. And I think that's critical. So if you don't mind, I take you back just so that you take our viewers step by step, because the way I understand it, the lawyers for Selby Mbenenge, the judge, are saying that in the second writing of the complaint, in some respects, it was almost identical to the previous one, which was said to have been lost. And they are questioning, how is it that Ms. Mengo was able to remember detailed details of the past? Just talk to that a little bit more, because it sounds to me like it will be crucial to the version of Judge Selby Mbenenge.
Indeed, you're absolutely correct, Lasizo. This is about a test to the credibility of a witness. So it's not so much about the complaint, it's about what the witness is saying about the complaint, or rather, are they being dishonest about the circumstances surrounding the complaint. You may remember that when Andiso Mengo testified and said that she received communication from the JSC official telling her that the complaint had been misplaced by the Chief Justice at the time, that is retired Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, and that she needed to file a new one in the form of an affidavit. She states that when she filed that new one that is now before the tribunal, that she never had sight of the original copy. Now, how Judge President Mbenenge's counsel challenged this is they went through the previous complaint, or let's call it the initial complaint, and the complaint in the form of an affidavit, and they assessed it line by line through the tribunal to test the similarities between the pair. And it was Judge Mbenenge's counsel's argument that the two documents are so similar, down to typos, down to where the commas are placed, down to the spacing in the particular contents of the affidavit, that it is improbable that she would have written an identical copy without sight of the new one. Now, Andiso Mengo has stood her ground and said that when she wrote the new one, she didn't have sight of the original copy. Then comes in the former JSC official giving in testimony, stating that she did have a copy because she would have gotten it on her flash drive from the laptop of Andiso Mengo, meaning that to transfer it from the laptop to her particular device, or her flash drive or hard drive, whichever one she was using, Andiso Mengo would have had to save the original copy. So now it is up to the tribunal to decide which version is true, as both versions cannot be true. And of course, for Kutlwano Muretwa, if her version isn't true, then it simply isn't accepted before the tribunal. But for Andiso Mengo, apologies, the implications are a bit more severe, because she is a critical witness in this probe of sexual harassment, because she is the complainant accusing the judge president of such. And if the tribunal has to approach her evidence with caution because they found that she was dishonest on one critical aspect, then of course that affects the final outcome of this landmark inquiry.
Right. Kenny, let's leave it there for this afternoon. That's Canny Maphanga there. So look out for more of her reporting on that story in the coming days. It will be fascinating to see how it all unfolds at the Judicial Conduct Tribunal, looking into allegations against Judge Selby Mbenenge. Let's